time you are monotheistic, because through the knowledge of all these gods around you, you understand there is one supreme creator on top. So that is the ultimate understanding, really, of how we should work around that. Regarding instead the publications, going back to the publications which are hidden in the Vatican, because that is some point which we should still tackle a little bit. There is some very dangerous books that can literally open dimensional doors and create havoc, create all kinds of situations. I mean, with a demon on your side, or evoking a demon, you can even create an earthquake. And this is actually done and experimented by the Illuminati in the United States. When I went to the United States the last time, at one point I had a very particular experience, amongst the many I had in the United States, but I was invited for 3 days to stay with a gentleman, brother, a Freemason brother I had met in 2004 at the Canonbury Masonic Research Center in London during a conference known as Many Faiths, One Brotherhood, a very important conference which was held, and there were representatives of all the Masonic bodies in Europe of importance, and obviously there was also somebody from the US. In this case, it was this brother known as John Compact. He gave me a card at that time. He seems to be working with the Tiger Tail books, some publishing company for children. At the time he was living in California. He asked me, and there were, at that time in this conference there were many important people. There was the cousin of the Queen in charge of the Royal Order of Scotland, Herr Elgin, and there were John Hamill. There were many interesting characters from Italy, from Sweden, Eric Bogdan, who is very famous Masonic historian, but who is also Satanist, unfortunately. And I was there just to, check out the situation and also ask some questions. And so he contacted me, said, if you ever want to contact me, I would be interested maybe in writing, or we should write a book about your knowledge and things, because it seems very interesting. I said, okay, but who are you? I said, I'm a member of the Supreme Council in California, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, when I come to the United States, I will give you a call. When I called them up, I was at the time in Iowa, in Des Moines, and I was supposed to go to Fort Collins in Colorado to meet with various representatives of my security forces, of my, I call them security, my security contractors who work with me, because I work with a lot of security contractors. I decided to call our compact, because I was wondering maybe we could go after to California to go and visit him. And he answers the phone and he says, Brother Leo, well, I'm not living in California anymore. I gathered that already, because when I called the number he gave me in California, the woman who answered there said, I give you this other number. So I called this other number, and guess where he was? He was in Fort Collins.
Wow.
Now, the most interesting thing is still to come, because at that point, we go towards Fort Collins, and I say to Brother John, okay, I'm gonna come to Fort Collins, I would like to see you. Brother John says, Leo, I would like to have you as my guest, don't worry, just say to your people you will be taken care, you can stay in my house, I have some things to show you, and I would like you to be my guest. And I still thank to this day Brother John, for this great great offer of friendship and of true brotherhood, because it's really true that Masonry in the US is really a brotherhood which is very, which really gives you the possibility of a true fraternal understanding. I mean, if you are a brother in need in the US, you definitely find a brother to help you. And I arrived in the middle of the night after I went through a most incredible journey surrounded by tornadoes.
Oh, wow.
Do you remember the tornadoes that hit in May Fort Collins and Colorado and wiped out a lot of I mean, it was a disaster area at that point. I don't know if you remember, May 2008.
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, it was that the whole Midwest was kind of under that same. We all got hit by those tornadoes and those floods, and it was a terrible time.
It was a terrible time, but it was actually a time in which some very strong forces were at work. There was a magical battle. And when there is a magical battle, the means that the magicians fight themselves with are using nature and the forces of nature against each other.
Wow. Tell them to stop that.
Well, I found myself suddenly in the middle of Tornado Valley, surrounded by tornadoes, with the wind blowing at 150 kilometers an hour, those big things that you have in the middle of, those, how you call them?
Like a sagebrush?
Yes. This weather that was hitting us so hard, because at one point we had to stop under a bridge. The weather was absolutely, we could have risked, people were, as you know, even people died, in that situation, because it was very dangerous weather situation. And it was really at the peak. So I just said to Helsinki, okay, I'm going to pick up from behind the car these books, and I'm going to recite these prayers. And then, after I recited these prayers, I said to the health security, okay, now we can go to Fort Collins. And I went to sleep. And we arrived, it was like miraculous. The weather just calmed down. Just in front of us, the weather kind of opened up. But later on, the day after, Brother John said, welcome, brother, it's very good to see you. I would like to show you a surprise, something that will definitely be a great surprise for you, and I'm sure that this is probably the reason why you came here in the first place. I said, well, let's see. So he brings me in downstairs in a secret, basically amongst there is a secret door. I go downstairs under the ground, and what I find in front of me is the biggest library on the occult, the paranormal, that exists in the United States of America.
Wow.
It's immense, full of rare texts and the most amazing books. It was for me, obviously for a person like me, it's like being in Disneyland. That is my kind of thing,
Exactly.
So I was very pleased by this discovery, and I started to think definitely this must definitely be the reason for me being here. Unfortunately, later on, he told me also to come and check out something else. He said, Leo, if you are a true Illuminati, you have to answer to my questions. I'm going to put you in front of certain images, and I'm in front of an image in particular, in this temple of mine, which I have down here, and you will have to tell me what it is. He brings me in front of this image, and suddenly I find myself in front of pure witchcraft and sorcery of the most negative kind, which I would have never imagined a guy like him to be involved in, because he's an alchemist, he's a Rosicrucian, he's somebody who I respect very much. And I think I still respect very much because of his knowledge and the fact that probably in the US is one of the few people who has this kind of occult knowledge. But what I found was disappointing, because it was the symbols used by a guy known as Andrew Chambly. Andrew Chambly, who died 3 or 4 years ago, is a very powerful black magician who was involved with one of the most negative and most demonic groups in the British Isles. And so when I saw this symbol, I understood that this guy was obviously not really all about positivity and about white magic.